Hi YouTube, welcome to another edition of Horror Hands, and for this video I'm going to go through 5 great horror films that had pretty terrible titles. One of the cool things about horror movies is you get some really good titles, very kind of lurid, suggestive titles. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, American Werewolf in London, Humanoid from the Deep, hell, even Sharknado is a cool sounding title. But occasionally you get some really good films that, for one reason or another, just the title was just never really grabbed me. So I want to go through 5 films that I think are really good, but have terrible titles. So the first film on the list is Bad Boy Lover Boy. And I don't know what it is about this title, I just really dislike it. I don't know if it's because it sounds a bit juvenile, because it sounds a bit soppy, Bad Boy Lover Boy, but I remember showing this off in, I think, my last end of month update, and I just saying the title just really got to me. I just don't like it. The movie itself is pretty good. It's a very kind of gritty, maniac style film. Could have been a bit gorier, but I appreciated the film for what it is. But I absolutely hate that Bad Boy Lover Boy title. I mean, they could have called it anything else that would have been more fitting, quite frankly. But yeah, this is the title that we have. But I just don't like this title. Can't quite put my finger on why. I just don't like the sound of it. It doesn't roll off the tongue. Yeah, don't like that title. So that's that one. Next up is The Erotic Rites of Frankenstein, and this is one that I got quite recently. I think this was in my last update video, and this is a film, that title for me just kind of suggests really kind of tacky, sleazy, low budget kind of sort of maybe like disrespectful look at the Frankenstein genre, The Erotic Rites of Frankenstein. But I have to say I was very pleasantly surprised with this film. It's a pretty well made film, and it really has some very kind of like Hammer horror type sensibilities in it, and European horror tropes, which I really liked. It's a Jess Franco film as well, so you never quite know what you're going to get with Jess, but this is one of his better efforts and one of his more cohesive efforts, shall we say. And you've got Howard Vernon, he's in this, he eats up the scenery whenever he's in the scene, and you've got Dennis Price as well that brings a bit of class into the proceedings. So a film with a lot more substance and style and gothic charm than what I certainly gave it credit for, and not one I think should be dismissed because of that kind of sleazy title. Okay, next up, number 3, and I'll explain this one, we have The Driller Killer. Now, I actually really like the title, The Driller Killer, and I like the movie. My problem is, I think that title, Driller Killer, suggests a very different type of film than what you get with the end result. So Driller Killer, to me, sounds like a very lurid, gory, grindhouse kind of violent movie, and what this movie actually is a very kind of slow burn character study, which witnesses the slow descent into madness, which happens to the main character, and then towards the end he kills a couple of people with a power drill. But it's not the kind of like wall-to-wall violence that the title The Driller Killer would suggest. And I know the first time I watched this film many years ago, I was very disappointed with the flatness of the tone of this film, and I think it stemmed from that title, Driller Killer. So it's a terrible title in the sense that it doesn't really provide, I think, the right feel for the film that you're getting. But like I say, it is a cool title in and of itself, and I have come to really like this movie. But yeah, I think there's a bit of a juxtaposing difference in that title and the actual result that's on screen. Right, next up is The Card Player. So this is on my list because this is a Dario Argento film, and what I often like about his films is he has some very kind of interesting titles, some very kind of intricately descriptive titles. Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Tenebrae, Suspiria, Four Flowers on Grey Velvet, things like that. And to me, The Card Player was a very standard title. It didn't grab me, didn't sound particularly all that riveting, and it just didn't have the artistic flair or the Argento-ness that a lot of his titles have. Which really kind of intrigued me and want me to kind of see the film. I thought this was a pretty lame title for his kind of his back catalogue. I did actually like the film. I know some people aren't the biggest fan of this one. It is a little bit different for Argento. He deals with some more modern kind of themes in this one. But I did actually enjoy the movie itself. But yeah, The Card Player just doesn't really sit well amongst his other more interestingly titled movies. Okay, and the last one on the list is Frogs. So this is one of these when nature attacks kind of movies, and a lot of these films all had kind of one word titles, things like ants, ticks, orca, squirm, and a lot of those titles do kind of have a bit of a gusto behind them. They do sound a little bit creepy or scary, but I just can't get scared by frogs. The notion of these rather placid amphibious creatures doesn't really strike fear into me. So yeah, seeing this film and the title Frogs, it's not one that would make me think this is going to be scary or this is going to be a real endurance test. It's just frogs. Not that I wouldn't be attracted by this movie. I would definitely pick this up if I saw it. But yeah, Frogs is never going to be a hard-hitting horror movie title, and it is one of those films where you can see the makers of it just had to try and find ways for fully grown men and women to fall on the floor and get overpowered by frogs who seemingly just sit there doing nothing. But that for me is part of the charm of this movie and many movies like it in this kind of subgenre. But yeah, I don't think Frogs is ever going to really strike fear into many people. But great movie though, very fun film. So that is 5 films that I think are good films but have pretty terrible titles. So let me know what you think of that, guys. Let me know if there's any movies out there that you like but don't particularly like the title. That'd be really interesting to know. Thanks very much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos.